My name is Ahmed Saafir. Welcome to Probe and Examine. And today we're going to continue with Clean Air Part 2. We're trying to have an anti-pollution movement. We're trying to have a movement where we can have good trucks on the highway rolling through Long Beach and Los Angeles, moving all these goods that we like to use and buy and that are available to us here on the West Coast, East Coast, and I think our goods go all the way to Iowa, and Detroit, all out of the port of Long Beach and Los Angeles. So it's a good thing, but we have to find a way to clean up the air so our community is not affected by, well, just basic pollution. And we were having a discussion during our break about the concentration of the bad air and how by us being in a basin, it tends to sit. And I think when you come from Big Bear or come down and drop down, you say, whoa, do I live below that? Do I have to drive through that to get to my home in the basin? It's amazing what we live up under and in. So let's continue with that. Now, Giselle, you were speaking about you have children. You live on the west side of Long Beach and San Pedro, or where do you live? And have you actually seen an effect? And has it affected your children?
Well, I live in California Heights, Bixby Knoll area, and you were just talking about what we live in. I don't know, this is probably a normal occurrence for every Long Beach or a San Pedro resident. If you take your finger and put it on the windowsill, it comes up black soot. That is the soot from diesel engines, and that is what we live with every day. I can tell you that every single night as I tuck my children into bed, I turn on their air filter before they go to sleep. That is what I am concerned about for the 10 hours that they are sleeping at night. I make sure I crank up the air filter. My children don't have asthma, but you look at the Long Beach asthma rates, and our childhood asthma rates are twice the national average for childhood asthma rates, and that is something that many families deal with every single day for their children, and really wondering and worrying about their basic health as a result of our polluted air.
Let's bring up, we have a graph that shows how the air is distributed. Here we go. Someone want to jump in and let's talk about this, educate our viewing public?
Yeah, what this chart shows is the cancer risks from breathing what are called toxic air contaminants in our region. And diesel exhaust that Giselle was just talking about is a toxic air contaminant. And when you see these purple areas, those are where the cancer risk is the highest. And what the South Coast Air Quality Management District, which is the government agency responsible for clean air in the region, states is that the highest levels of cancer risk are in the harbor areas. So places like Wilmington, San Pedro, Long Beach, they have the highest levels of pollution. And a lot of it comes from diesel exhaust, such as the engines that run the trucks, ships, and trains. Those are all emitting high levels of diesel exhaust.
And we're just learning more about these sorts of emissions as they produce particulates that we don't normally find in nature, and our bodies aren't prepared to fight against. And they're like, when we breathe in this air, it's like a million little daggers going into our system, attacking our heart, our lungs, our cardiovascular system, and contributing to cancer, heart attack, and lung disease.
Is it sort of like the asbestos movement that we had with gypsum and asbestos? You work in the bottom of the ship or at the shipyard, yeah, and you worked with asbestos we used to use to go around the steam pipes.
Yeah. Well, a lot like that is that we thought it was relatively benign, but we're finding out it's very, very bad, and we're also finding out that how pervasive it is.
And Ahmed, you bring up a good point, is NRDC and the Coalition for Clean and Safe Ports up in Oakland did a study of exposure to diesel exhaust for truck drivers on the road. And what the study found is that drivers are experiencing very high levels of emissions in their trucks because they're so old, the equipment's malfunctioning, and actually they're experiencing levels of cancer risk that are 2,000 times higher than 2,000 times higher than what is considered acceptable by the federal government. So what some of those, the people who are the most impacted are those who are closest to these engines, such as truck drivers, people working on the docks.
Now, Jose, you have health insurance?
No, no.
You don't have health insurance?
No,
So you don't take any of your 1099 money and buy health insurance?
no, we can afford that.
Can't afford it. Bring up the graph that shows the, bring up the graph that deals with the hourly pay. So you've taken that load rate and broken it down into an hourly chart so everyone can understand it more readily?
Right, and so, and this is studies that have been done not by the coalition but by academics that we've taken to help come up with those numbers. There's a number of studies that show that drivers on average make $12 an hour, and that employees driving in the same industry, drivers that are our employees, which are very few at the ports, make an average of $16 an hour. And so there is a significant benefit for drivers, for workers, having employee rights. So they have, the higher pay rates, then added benefits of health benefits. Their workers' comp is paid for, taxes. They don't have to pay for their truck, and all the cost associated with that. So from a worker perspective, there are benefits as you see in that chart, but this is why, again, and Jose can speak more to this, why he's been involved in this, I suspect, for that reason.
Now, when you talk about companies that have trucker employees, are those newer companies, or are some of the old standby companies, or is there integration in a company? Some are employees and some are independent. What is there a blend? Is there do you see new companies coming that are picking up on this charge that you've created and are putting truckers as employees? They have the trucks. Of course, that's a lot of financing, huh?
Well, yeah, and that's just exactly it. How can they compete with companies that basically take their cut and pass the buck on to someone else? They can't. So that's why so much of the industry is the way it is.
And actually, there are some employee drivers at that go to the ports, however, the vast majority of the drivers are what are called independent. Contractors, and even the rates of independent contractors at the ports are dramatically higher than what the national